Supergirl was good, but what if it was amazing? Let's talk about how it could have been. Now, many will agree that Supergirl was a very interesting movie. Many did not like it. Some enjoyed the movie. Like me, myself, I enjoyed the movie. But it had some issues, and because of those issues, it kind of made it a generic movie. Like the editor, whoever edited this movie, didn't understand or was not given enough time to edit this movie into a way it could have been. And because of that, the movie suffered. I also think that it wasn't written well. The writer, maybe she was great at writing scripts, but whatever happened was there was some rewrites, probably reshoots, and because of those, it was not given the substance it needed to be great. And I also think that the director, for if he has a great history, he did not give a good direction, and because of his love for other movies, he didn't give a chance to make this movie unique with its own spin. And I feel like everything was holding this movie back for what it could have been if it was given the right direction. And I feel like if I wrote, directed, and edited this movie, it would have been different. Of course, I can't actually do it. So I'm going to tell you today, guys, a very interesting what if scenario. If I did the movie, what would I have done to make this movie interesting? Now, I have a whole list of points of what I would have done differently. Okay, it starts off with Ruthie's family. They're happy, they're playing together, Ruthie's brother's playing with her. Their mom has fun. Ruthie's dad takes her to his welding shop on a different world because we see that he makes swords. And I feel like that makes sense for this movie, that the sword would be a bigger point and even actual MacGuffin of the movie, as you will. So we're gonna see Ruthie's dad making the sword, showing her him making the sword from the most powerful material in all of the DCU universe, and takes Ruthie back home the night of. Their dad puts away the key, but then sees that Krem and his lords of henchmen come to get the key to unlock that vault and steal that sword, as well as all the prototype swords that Ruthie's dad has been making. Krem comes in the same way he comes in the actual movie, but now we have more context on who this family is and why Krem is coming for this family at all. Krem basically kills the entire family, but Ruthie survives by sneaking out with the key, and she escapes barely. But luckily, Krem's ship was blown up, so they can't really track her from the sky. Then we fade to Supergirl after her birthday banger that she just had. She picks up crypto from Earth after the events of Superman from last year. We see her going to bars and drinking, and crypto's there. Her partying. Clark still contacts her the same way he does in the movie, telling her that now that she's 23, she needs to maybe decide on a permanent home. And it's pretty fun that we see him interacting with her, and she's like, "Nah, I'm gonna keep drinking." And this is what happens now. Like she keeps not listening, and she keeps getting into fights. She keeps winning, of course, because she's near sun planets, and even on red sun planets, she still wins and beats these guys that who are drunk and. But then one day she goes to a bar, and this is where Ruthie shows up. She shows up begging someone for transportation, and for payment, she would offer them a sword. Same way that the movie shows it, but the only difference is now that she doesn't actually have a sword on her. She's just swordless. Ruthie gets into a little trouble with some guy who wants to steal the keys. Supergirl takes the keys, and gets back to Ruthie after beating the bad guy up. And Supergirl returns to her little spaceship, falls asleep, and actually has nightmares about Argo City, her home. She has these slight vivid dreams, and instead of us seeing the entire planet of Argo destroyed, we're gonna see little glimpses of it throughout the movie, and we're gonna finally understand why she's into revenge. Because I'm gonna get into that in this story, so keep listening. As she has nightmares, Ruthie knocks on the door, waking Supergirl up, who screams while waking up. She goes to the door, opens it up, and sees Ruthie. Ruthie tells her mission or point. Supergirl's like, "Girl, just stop. There's no point of this. Just go home, girl, go home." Then Krem arrives. They have a little tussle. Krem shoots Crypto with a poisonous dart. Supergirl, Ruthie, and Crypto escape in their ship and fly to a doctor or a vet, whatever you like to call them, in this universe. And this vet tells them that they only have 3 days to find a cure or it's going to be gone. But the thing that actually is different about this script versus the story that we saw is that in the original story, Prim has the antidote on him, like right here, and he still does. But the point is, Supergirl does not know this, and Ruthie does know this, but Supergirl does not. But Ruthie, instead of her telling her this information, what she does is lie to her to convince her to help her get to her father's welding shop so she can take back her sword, or her father's sword. And she lies to her, telling her that the antidote is actually in the shop. So now Supergirl and Ruthie travel to this plant to go retrieve the antidote as well as the sword, which Supergirl does not know about at all. And they leave Crypto with the vet, the same way that they do with the movie, and they go off. The difference between this and this is that the difference between this script and that script was that Supergirl didn't have a ship at all. Prim stole it. In this script, they still have her ship. Then immediately after, Prim hires the most dangerous bounty hunter in the galaxy, Lobo. We see him, destroying stuff, and then we see him getting hired by Prim. And then he rides on his motorcycle and drives into his ship and takes off with a blast. And this is actually pretty cool, in my opinion, because we're going to see more of Lobo as an antagonist, as well as someone who wants to encourage Ruthie for revenge. Instead of him just being a bar drinking and then like, hey, I'm going after this one guy who's part of Prim's gang, going to cut his head off, take his head, and take the money. No. Lobo is actually going to be working for Crown for parts of this film. And I wanted him to be he's a bounty hunter, so it makes sense that he would be after Supergirl. And that's what I always wanted from this movie. That's why I hoped Lobo was in this movie to begin with. And I think this works much more than just Lobo just being there. After an argument about revenge with Supergirl and Ruthie over whether or not Ruthie should kill Krem, Lobo comes, blasts their ship out of the sky and into the nearest planet. They crash. Luckily, Supergirl and Ruthie survive. And they're still on now that they've transferred into a yellow sun planet. Supergirl has her powers back. And as they travel to find a new ship, they see human traffickers of Krem's men who are trafficking young girls to create an heir or an empire with more men. Supergirl and Ruthie go and save these girls. Then Lobo, in the midst of the chaos, captures Ruthie. And then Supergirl traces after her, but Lobo escapes with his ship so far away that Supergirl's unable to reach him with her powers. So she comes back down to the planet, and she asks for one of the families that she saved with Ruthie, if she can borrow a ship, and they do. They lend her a ship, and then she flies off to go after Lobo. And as Lobo is talking with Ruthie, because Lobo talks a lot, he's a very prideful man. He thinks he's great, so he doesn't mind talking to his prisoners, bragging about who he is. He hears Ruthie's story, and then he actually says to her that if she ever escapes Krem after this little arrangement, she should totally kill him. Because Lobo is kind of this person who wants to encourage her to kill, even though Supergirl is the one who doesn't want to kill. And that's the point of Lobo. He wants to encourage her. And we're going to see little clips of him encouraging her throughout this film. Because I believe the best point for Lobo is to encourage her to kill. So that's what he does. And then the funniest part of the movie, Supergirl shows herself from her ship and blasts Lobo's ship into the actual planet of Ruthie's dad's welding shop. We see him crash the same way that Supergirl crashed. The same way that Lobo crashed Supergirl's ship minutes earlier in the movie. And this planet is actually going to take up most of the beautiful visuals of the movie based from the comics. So if you're a fan of the comics, this is probably where we're going to see most of the beautiful visuals that people have been wanting to see from Supergirl, the movie. And yeah, that's why we're going to see it here. Lobo, who has signaled for Krem comes down, sees Ruthie and Lobo, and takes Ruthie, but Lobo is asking for payment. But Krem betrays him, attacks him, and his army is against him. Lobo in the tussle escapes, and also in the chaos of Lobo attacking Krem's army, Supergirl arrives, saves Ruthie, and takes her back to the welding shop, where she opens the door with her key and literally sees the sword right in the middle of this huge um, melting pots and these unfinished swords. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like a fortress. Then when Ruthie picks up the sword and actually smiles that now she's gonna kill Krim, Supergirl asks her about the antidote. Ruthie just stands there, kind of ashamed of herself, and Supergirl realizes that she lied to her. Supergirl tells her that she needs to stop what she's doing because what she's doing is not right. Ruthie tells her, "How do you know?" Supergirl tells her the story about how during her teenagehood on Argo City, that when her mother and father and her were still okay from all the some sickness that came upon the Argo City because of an accidental issue with when they took off from the city. That kryptonite po- kryptonite poison came upon the people, and only a few people were able to escape it. But one man was angry that his family was dying out, so he killed Supergirl's mother in cold blood. Enraged, Supergirl kills him back because she wanted revenge. But even after the funeral, she still feels horrible about it. And she is during the funeral, she cries. Then after Supergirl tells Ruthie the story about her killing this guy, Ruthie and Supergirl hear a big thunder, hearing the tanks from Krem's ship coming. And when Supergirl looks away, Ruthie escapes from the fortress to go kill Krem. And Supergirl comes out there, attacks Krem and all his soldiers to try to save Ruthie from this horrible mistake that she's about to commit. Supergirl gets knocked out, and luckily, before she's able to get killed by killed or hurt or even captured, Lobo arrives full throttle and literally takes out several guards. And as she lays there knocked unconscious, she dreams about more about her city being destroyed. She sees the terror on her face. She gets upset. She cries. This is a flashback of when she was on Argo. Her father encourages her that she must escape so she doesn't get poisoned, because he is going to get poisoned soon. He's already caught the lowest part of the virus, and he doesn't want her to be caught in that too. Plus, since the city is about to be crumbling as well as being poisoned, he knows that she must escape to continue the legacy, just like Superman did. So he sends her through the ship the same way that he did in the actual movie to Earth, and that's where we see Superman meeting Supergirl. And it's pretty much the same scenes that we see in the Supergirl movie, just him introducing himself and understanding the language. And then we see him pulling out the Superman version for her, Superman suit for her, that's made for a girl. He pulls this out, showing her what it is. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is that Supergirl actually was wearing the suit, but the only difference was she had the huge brown coat around her that was covering most of the suit. So if you're probably wondering, you didn't like that she was wearing civilian clothing the whole time, don't worry. In this version, she wears the suit, but she has a coat over it. And that's the best part I think about this script is that when she finally wakes up, she takes off that jacket and flies in the sky, proud and happy that she's Kryptonian, finally willing to accept who she is, and flies heroically in the sky over the sun like she does kind of like in the movie, but this time it's much more beautiful as we see more of the silhouette of the costume for the glory of what could have been. And then we see her like fight all these villains. Lobo jumps in. They have this huge battle. Ruthie hesitates from killing Krim for a moment because she feels like she shouldn't. Because she's still debating now that after all this, should she kill Krim? Then she walks away as Krim is like tackled by Supergirl and thrown from a large distance. Then Supergirl and Lobo take on this whole army to cause chaos, explosions, boom! They save some girls, I guess, if you want to add the same stuff that we saw in the actual movie. And then we see the most important scene in the movie. Ruthie's over the wounded Krem, holding the sword. She looks at him wanting to get revenge on what he did to her family. And then we see Supergirl walk next to her, well, fly next to her technically, saying, "You don't have to do this. Revenge will not give you back what you lost." Ruthie complains there. Lobo being trying to encourage her to kill and get her revenge because he wants her to get justice from his point of view. Supergirl is trying to convince her to not give in to that hatred of revenge. As Ruthie contemplates, she tries, but she can't do it, realizing that Supergirl is right. Even though is hard for her even to do it to begin with, she hesitates and she can't do it. She hands Supergirl the sword, then walks away. Supergirl is about to walk away when Krem starts laughing. She's on the ground laughing like, "Hey girl, you got beautiful eyes. And guess what? I have the cure for your dog right here. Do you want it? Do you want cure?" Sorry if the accent doesn't work. But anyway, then she picks him up and stabs him once for the dog, and then again, just because for fun. Lobo cheers it "Yeah, let's do this!" He's literally happy about this. Supergirl is now beginning an arc of revenge, trying to figure out who she is and how does she figure out the truth. She figures out the truth that not every villain you can save. And yet this is a pretty cool arc that we're about to see throughout Supergirl's journey, and that's one part where I actually liked about the actual movie, where she does kill Krim. I like that because it gives us more than we were expecting. Yes, we wanted Ruthie to kill Krem, I think that we wouldn't wanted it as much if we saw her hesitating or her considering it and having more arguments about it, more of her deciding should she not. I think we should have saw more of this, more girl frustration. Because I wanted to see some girls talking. I wanted to see some girls talking about it, frustrated about it. I wanted to see some of this girl fight a little bit, not like an actual fight, but words. And I wish that we got more of that because this is supposed to be a messy girl movie. And honestly, it's nice that we finally are getting real girl type films again. Even though I think, because I don't like the idea of a girl boss, the type of character that they've been writing, which is the character is pretty much perfect and unstoppable, like Captain Marvel, or I can give you another one, but I don't want to. But now I'm glad we're going. Girls are just being girls. Girls that are having arcs. Girls being characters again. And that's actually really cool in my opinion. And that's why I wanted to keep the scene in, because I think that's cool that Supergirl does what she does. And then the end of the movie, Lobo flies off on his bike, and Supergirl takes Ruthie back to Earth because she has no family. And also in the film, Ruthie goes back to her aunt. And I didn't like this part in the film where she just goes back to her aunt. I didn't like that. It didn't work for me. I thought that was stupid. So I decided that Supergirl can take her to Earth. They can have more adventures on Earth. So maybe in Man Tomorrow, we could see Ruthie actually interact with Superman instead of just her just leaving and never see her again. I honestly think that we could actually see more of Ruthie if we wanted to, instead of just her being gone. That's just me. You can disagree with that, but that's what I think should happen. I think I want to see more of this character, and if we like this character, I think we should see more of them, if that makes sense. Then we see pretty much the last scene of the Supergirl movie, where Kara is helped Crypto, and they're both going back to Clark's or Superman's apartment, and we see them talk about Supergirl possibly staying around for a lot longer. Then we see this quiet little smile on both their faces, and then it cuts to black. The end. But anyway, that's the end of the movie. That's what I've been thinking they should do with Supergirl, because for the longest time, movies. I just thought this for the longest time. I thought the Supergirl movie was gonna be different. It was pretty cool, I think. It wasn't great though. It was just okay, and I feel like doing this makes it not okay, but at least good. It has more layers, more internal struggle, and flashbacks that give us invested in the future. If I had to make the movie more differently, I would have just added the flashbacks being longer and more consistent. Like every other scene should be a flashback, so we can understand Kara more. But this is the best I could do, based on what I could do, based off what they had. Because I'm not trying to change the story; I'm just trying to make it better. Do you think this story would have been better if it was told from this point of view, or do you think it would have been worse and had the same results? Let me know in the comments below and leave a heart, because that's what they're doing now. And thank you so much for watching. God bless. Have a good day. I'm Red Gray. This is Red Gray Productions. I'll see you next time. Bye. Supergirl!